You're listening to the Sports Academy. It's BBC Radio Sheffield. Now, we've featured plenty of boxers on the programme over the last weeks and months, and we've also been behind the scenes at GB Boxing's base at the EIS in Sheffield. But what about the science behind the sport? Well, there's a company in Sheffield set up just for that purpose. And not surprisingly, they're called Boxing Science. I imagine that committee meeting didn't take too long. We've got the co-founders of Boxing Science with us. They are Dr. Alan Ruddock and Danny Wilson. Guys, thanks very much for being with us. Just on the name, first of all. That was a short meeting, I'm assuming.
It was a very short meeting, yeah. We had a few different options, didn't we? But as soon as we saw Boxing Science, that was it.
What was rejected?
Sports science in boxing.
Yeah, you
just showing it down.
Yeah, you did well.
Sound cool.
There was nothing better. So, if you had to sum up boxing science, then how would you do it? How would you explain it to a lay person?
Yeah, so we're a sports science consultancy service for boxing, and we also include combat sports as well. We get an athlete basically improving their physical performance, so when they're on fight night, they're in peak condition. So we do movement, fitness, and we do strength training as well. Everything's evidence-based to make sure they're in optimal shape.
So was there a gap in the market then that this just wasn't being done? How did it all come together?
Yeah, so we really started in around about 2012, where one of our colleagues got a call from Eddie Hearn saying, can you work with this boxer? He's a local lad, he's from Sheffield, and he's probably going to go on and win a world title. We'd like to work with him and help him, kick on a little bit. And that boxer was Kell Brook. And a few years later, I was fortunate enough to go out with the team to America, where he beat Sean Porter and he won the IBF World Welterweight title.
So take me back to that first meeting then. Kell Brook has come to meet you guys and says, right, what can you show me, lads? What was that first meeting like?
Yeah, well, he was great. Kell's a top lad, and Dominic Ingle was with him as well. Both great guys. But we were kind of like scratching his heads, like trying not to make out we knew a lot about boxing, because we didn't, and the reason was because there's not a lot out there. So we are a sports scientist. A lot of our information that we get is primarily based on endurance sports. So we were making inferences, we were making jumps and leaps from endurance sports and the science behind it into boxing, and that's how we started.
So that surprises me, because we all think of boxers as people who are at the peak of their physical strength and fitness, and yet there is not a lot until you guys started doing it, research into that area, and then we're talking 2012 when you get a call. So before that, what was going on?
Yeah, just a lot of the thing about boxing is that it's a very close community, and we all we've all heard about the long road runs and the brutal circuits of the gym and things like that. And just by word of mouth, those training methods, which are well established in the community, have just been passed on, and we did a little bit of work and just challenged that a little bit, and have done a little bit of work since then, and kind of brought a little bit more scientific element to it.
So what have you found then that maybe that people have been doing for years and years and years, and you're like, actually lads, could you try this instead? It might work better.
I think one of the main things, and it's all come from Alan, is them trying to be endurance athletes, like trying to clock the miles on the clock, going on long road runs and everything like that, just challenging them to go into them high intensities. One of the main sessions that we do only consists of 2 minutes of running. That's 30 seconds on, absolute max effort sprints, and then they have 3 minutes recovery. You tell a boxer to do that for the first time, they'll be thinking, what the hell's, why is this
happy days, so I get to go home in 5 minutes.
Yeah, and they see, why is this specific to boxing? Because boxing is 3 minute rounds, 1 minute rest, and they'll have, for professionals, either 6 rounds or all the way up to 12 rounds. So when you're saying to do 30-second max out sprints, they're saying they can't see that crossover, but what we look to do is go for general adaptations to get them fitter and faster, and then that will pass over into their boxing. So within their boxing training, that's where they get all their specific fitness, where we're working on their general fitness to make them better athletes.
So how much resistance then have you met to people being told, actually, this is what we think will work for you, and then having a decades-long association through things being passed down of, no, this is the way we do things in this sport?
Yeah, there's a bit of resistance, but there is in lots of different sports. I've worked in golf and football, and everything's evolving. Boxing has been a bit slow to take up strength and conditioning because they've been so good at getting their athletes in shape and doing 12 rounds and 15 rounds for years and years, so they've already been fit and strong enough to do the sport. So we have had a bit of resistance, but it's getting a lot better. Most professional boxers now have a strength and conditioning coach and sports science team. When Kell Brook first started coming into the labs, it was like this unseen thing, a boxer with a mask on doing a fitness test. Everyone's saying it's a little bit like Rocky, like Drago in Rocky 4, and now you're seeing a lot more boxers actually going and doing the testing. There's people in Manchester doing it, in Wolverhampton University as well. A lot of boxers go there because a nutritionist that we work with actually does a lot of testing down there, so it's becoming a lot more common, and it's great to see.
So what is the proof then that this works then? Because clearly Kell Brook is a great shining example. Is he the poster child for this, or I mean, how many people have you helped to do better?
A lot. I mean, we've been fortunate to be involved with some very good boxers, and we've been involved in 11 world title fights over the past 4 years. We haven't won them all, but you know, we've been working at that level, and obviously in conjunction with the coaches and the excellent application of you know, the training sessions. We couldn't ask for better athletes really in boxers, because they put their bodies on the line every single session. I mean, like the session that Danny was talking about there is so brutal, but they just get on and do it and give 110% every single time. But yeah, so we have got a good evidence base, and one of the things that we do as scientists is that we record as many things as possible. So every rep is recorded, every weight. We have a special piece of kit that measures the speed of the barbell when they're lifting, so we can track their speeds at different weights. We take heart rate data for every session, speed, something called blood lactate, which is a marker of fatigue, and we integrate all this information, and we've got tens of thousands of data points and evidence that we use to then optimise our boxers' training.
Has anything surprised you on your way through this? You know, when you things that you thought might work and didn't, or things that you've just been, you know, come out of the blue that you haven't really been expecting to find?
I think, from my perspective, I always thought that athletes just need to get strong, move well and get stronger, and try and increase their 1 rep max on a squat or a deadlift. But as time's gone on, when it gets to the nitty gritty of camp, where they're currently like 2-3 weeks away from a fight, they're making weight, they're in a they're in high calorie deficit, so you're talking about 400-500 calorie deficit. Most people don't do that ever, even if they're on the diet, and they're having to run, having to box, having to spar, and then if you're trying to get them doing a big heavy weight, that isn't going to be in conjunction with their training. So like what Alan said about the measuring the speed of the bar, this has really revolutionised our training and my kind of thoughts behind strength and conditioning. It's definitely brought me on to be a better strength and conditioning coach working in boxing.
I'm glad you mentioned making weight, because this continues to be one of the the big talking points in boxing of how to do that safely. Have you guys been able to help in that side of it too?
Yeah, I mean, with our pro boxers, they'll work with nutritionists, and we've got some very good nutritionists that we work with, some of the best in the country, and if not in the world. And we're always collecting, for example, heart rate data in their boxing sessions, so we know exactly what energy expenditure is. That information is then fed to the nutritionist. Or if we've got a particular type of session that we're looking to run in terms of their conditioning, we'll say, right, okay, in this particular phase of the camp, we're working on this particular aspect, and the nutritionist will then flip around the way that they provide them fuel to the athletes to make them fueled for the session. So it's about fueling. There's making weight, and there's also fueling for performance as well, and it's having that balance between them. That's really important. But yeah, that's one of the eye-openers, is that people forget that making weight is really tough on them.
Danny, you wanted to come in on that?
Yeah, just saying what Alan was saying about the heart rate. We've also got a machine that measures our resting metabolic rate. So basically how many calories you'd burn if you were like laying down all day. And this is individualised, so it's really important for the nutritionist to get that information to make sure the right calorie deficit is put in place at the right times.
I'm going to keep you guys a little bit longer because
Yeah.
there's loads that I want to get into, particularly what us lay people can take about what you've learned so far as well. Stick around with us on the Sports Academy. Much more from Dr. Alan Ruddock and Danny Wilson in a few moments' time. Trophy. We'll keep you in touch with that one, but I've got the two guys from Boxing Science here in Sheffield, Dr. Alan Ruddock and Danny Wilson, who've been joining me in the studio to talk about their research and what they're doing, taking boxing to a new level. And well, guys, you mentioned a little bit earlier about having the likes of Kell Brook and others in the lab. Just paint me a picture. What is the lab like?
So we've got various rooms, Sheffield University. I'm kind of like put to the side in the weights room, which is just kind of your box standard room. Got squat racks, dumbbells. We've got the gym aware, which helps us monitor the speed of lifts. But then we've got a big fancy lab, which is Alan's playground. Do you want to explain
The
what's
fancy
in there?
lab, come on, what's in that?
Fancy lab, yeah. So we've got in the physiology lab. I'm a physiologist. I'm interested in how the body responds and adapts to exercise. So we've got lots of gizmos and gadgets that can look at things like body composition, so we can look at the amount of muscle and bone and fat within an individual. And then we've got a high-speed treadmill that will run to 80 kilometers per hour if we really wanted to put it on there. Bear in mind, Usain Bolt's peak speed is 44 kilometers per hour.
I was going to say, yeah.
And the record for our boxers on the particular treadmill test that we do is 25 kilometers per hour.
Wow.
It rarely gets up to 80. But yeah, we've got other things, gas analyzers where we can look at oxygen uptake, carbon dioxide production. We can look at the amount of fuel and the type of fuel a boxer or any particular type of athlete is using, whether they're running or cycling at a particular intensity. We can look at blood markers, and then we've got our favourite toy, which is a curved treadmill. So it's not a treadmill that you might see at a regular gym.
Right.
Which is a motorised treadmill. It's a non-motorised treadmill, so you drive it yourself. So you put your foot at the top of the curve and you can drive the belt back.
Okay.
And that means you can sprint on it. So when we're doing these 30-second sprints, we're doing them on a curved treadmill, so the boxers can get up to some speeds close to 30 kilometers an hour and above.
Wow.
So yeah.
So that's a pretty impressive array of toys. I mean, are you kind of at the peak of the technology side of it as well? Do you geek out over the new kit that you can get hold of next year when things are coming out? And all that sort of stuff
Yeah.
as well?
So when the budget gets released every year, we're like, what can we get on the wish list? Yeah. But we're very fortunate to be in that position to have all the gizmos and gadgets. So yeah, we do have all the gear, but we've also got a bit of an idea how to use it as well.
Well, so at the elite level, there's clearly loads of stuff going on. For me and for other people listening tonight, what are some of the things that you've learned that we can take away to just be better at our general fitness then? What should we know?
I think one of the things that we work on first of all with boxers is just their movement and mobility. We're spending a lot of time at desks nowadays, and we're getting tight in every single area. Upper back is really tight. We've got sleepy glutes that don't work as well as they should, and we're not very good at we're very good at going in straight lines but not side to side, and sometimes that can cause a few issues when you've got your weekend warriors out there that then tweak a hamstring or pull something or get muscle soreness or anything like that. So I think just spending a bit of time on movement and just being a little bit more physically active, getting up from the desk, having a walk around, having a good stretch.
Yeah.
Maybe
walking sideways to the loo. Is what you say?
Yeah, you'd be surprised if you look at any of our videos online. You'll be really surprised at how often Danny has got bands around people's legs, making them do like crab walks across the gym, because we've got weak side glute muscles. They don't work. They don't fire and function as well as they should do because we're not used to doing it.
Okay, fair enough. So we need to walk sideways a little bit more. When we're out doing sport at the weekend, and maybe being a weekend warrior, it's a fine thing to do. What should we be taking into account about maybe the amount that we do or the way that we do it? What sort of things really matter?
Making sure you're consistent. Like anything, practice makes perfect. I think obviously a weekend warrior, if they're doing all their activities at the weekend and then doing nothing in the week, they end up going to get sore from it and think, I can't train for a bit. But if you get over that soreness, let's train the next day, even though your legs are sore, your back's sore, whatever. If you just get moving again, your body will get used to it. This is something that we take from the boxers. They go from like doing a training camp, they make weight, they eat loads, and they come back and they start again, rather than like thinking, I need to be a little bit more consistent with my weight, I need to keep it down and make it a lot easier. Whereas a lot of people, they'll go on an exercise program 4 weeks, lose a stone, half a stone, and then think, oh, that's great, I'll go back out at the weekend, eat some cake or whatever, and then they make it harder for them. So
but the
it's
cake
just about
is so
being,
nice, that's
yeah,
the thing.
Yeah, that's it. Well, there's some nice supplements out there where you've got like nice kind of protein cakes and stuff like that. Just try and substitute it with something a little bit healthier.
So how can people sort of find out a little bit more about what you do and you know, maybe take a little bit more out of, you know, the research that you've been able to put together?
Yeah, so we're across a load of different things. Mainly, we put our stuff out on Instagram. We're Boxing Science on Instagram. We also got a YouTube channel where we put on a little bit more extensive work, a little bit more kind of in-depth on our workouts. And also we've got like people who want to read. There's still people out there that want to read these days. boxingscience.co.uk. We've got all our information about like more of the in-depth science. But if anybody's listening to this and not into boxing and might find doing a boxing workout a little bit daunting, we've got an Instagram page called Red Zone Running, where we put in like treadmill workouts out on there, making running more challenging, more fun, breaking it up, so you're not just running for 30 minutes on a treadmill, absolutely bored. You know, it's actually challenges. We put target speeds on there, and you've got to try and get better every week. So there's about, how many runs, Alan? About 100 runs on there?
100, yeah. Over 100 runs now.
They've all been given names, mostly Arctic Monkeys songs, because we're big Arctic Monkeys fans. Also being from Sheffield myself, so get on that Instagram, Red Zone Running.
And what's this I hear about McFly being involved in something you guys do?
So we've had loads of different like football players, you know. So the Sheffield United team have been doing Red Zone Running in the pre-season. We've had Jack Grealish from Aston Villa as well do some sessions, and then yesterday we had Danny Jones and Harry Judd from McFly send a video down to our account, and they put it on their Instagram story of them finishing off one of the Red Zone interval runs. So they were pounding away on the treadmill, filming themselves, finishing this run. So yeah, McFly are Red Zone runners.
What's it like having an impact then? You know, not just in boxing, but in many sports, and now also in pop music as well. You live the dream.
Science is for everyone. even Love Island. We've got a few Love Island contestants on there as well. So yeah, it's weird to think that, but it went kind of mad over the summer because, like I said, Sheffield United were doing the Red Zone Running. And then Jack Grealish and then a lot of other professional footballers were doing these sessions, which like normal people can do as well. So
what does the future look like for you guys then? What's the plan to take this on? How do you move it to where, you know, the next thing that you want to do?
We're always venturing into new things. We only started Red Zone Running about a year ago. Never know, might do Red Zone Rowing. Something like that. But yeah, you know, with boxing, it's growing at a good rate. We're launching the Boxing Science membership hopefully next week. So hopefully we're going to be impacting more coaches, more gyms. We're also looking to do the Youth Athlete Initiative, which we're basically giving free sports science out to youth boxers, because in football, in all the academies and everything like that, they get strength and conditioning for free, but who's there to give it in boxing? So that's why we put all our education stuff out there for boxing coaches to make them feel more confident in delivering S&C and sports science to young boxers. So hopefully we're going to be having an impact on every gym in the UK.
Making an impact indeed. Danny Wilson, Dr. Alan Ruddock, thank you very much indeed for being with us. They are Boxing Science, and they are having an impact in boxing and in football and in many sports, and also pop music as well. And as if by magic,